So I wanted to kind of clean up the cyber war. I did it in live and it was very messy and the audio was on the wrong device, so it was very horrible. But you can follow along too on X, looking at my profile at TWL Christoph. Follow me if it's the kind of content you like to see. I like to do memes, world events, technological news, sometimes political as well because it does affect technology, including censorship and such. But today, I'm going to scroll back to February 22nd, 2024. We're going to discuss the same details that I had in my live, but we're going to go into much more clean observations and a better microphone. Okay, so you're going to see this. First, I want to say that my suspicion started with the Chinese balloon. If not one, but many, who knows? We just knew one and we shot one down, but this was 23rd. Um, Fancy that. But I posted this on the 23rd, but let me see. Chinese balloon shot down. 2023 balloon incident. Is this the one? I think it was the end of 2023. Fighter jet shot down suspected Chinese spy blip. Okay, maybe sometime before that. Uh, I just put the pieces together. What does that actually entail? What does it matter if this Chinese balloon is involved? We have to consider that hacking requires access, obviously. Either human error based access that is attributed to social engineering, or if the security is high, some form or some way to bypass distance over a long period. So let's do this real quick. You've got point A and point B. Let's call this China, let's call this USA. Packets in the network don't necessarily travel directly from computer 1 to computer 2. What happens is there's small nodes connecting. If we maybe think of this as a UK space, this would be the transatlantic cable. And any other servers in between that we would normally call as gateways. So, in order for China to reach the United States, they would essentially need to find a way to bypass or get through point A, probably hack this. If they cannot hack through here, then they can find another path through here. Because if you try and attempt hack one here and it does not work, then that line is going to get extra fortified with security. But if you haven't been hacked on hack 2 path, essentially they will be unexpected. Unless, of course, security does a full out defensive on every single incoming connection, regardless if it's H1 path or H2 path. So what does this balloon accomplish? The balloon, or in one way, a balloon itself cannot let China connect from here to here because we still have the curvature of the Earth, right? So considering that if we have a curvature, China's over here, US is over here, there's no straight path to communicate. You have a whole planet in the way. But what you do have is a satellite and a balloon that essentially lets China bypass. And these are their technology. So the balloon would essentially backdoor any of the existing infrastructure. So first mistake was letting that balloon stay in the air for longer than it was. It was literally, it went through the whole United States from the East Coast to the West, I believe, until finally being shot down. That gives it plenty of time to attempt many different connections. So, this is my kind of consideration on what may have happened. This bypassing will basically not have any necessity of using this path. So, no need to worry about in betweens, no need to alert anyone that you're on your way. Directly spoken, you're just entering the area. But then, what is the next step that it actually exploits? The one important factor that we don't think about is if we have telephone stations, AT&T, Verizon, and so forth, and there's a balloon chilling, well, as it's receiving signals from China, it has direct physical access to those mobile networks. For the most case scenario, I don't believe those are extremely secure in comparison to uh, the H1 path and H2 path. However, they still have some security involved, though not as strict. And with frequencies, there's probably ways that you can essentially bypass some of those, overload a tower, access it through the mobile network of the local sense. When a car, let's say, passes between two towers, it has a connection to one and then it automatically switches to another. That can also be exploited. A lot of um, backup or safety features or conveniences that we may have can be hijacked by a listening object, an object listening on the frequencies and catching packets, decrypting them, or just finding ways to hijack that connection instead of the car getting access. The balloon hijacks that access when it's trying to switch. What does that do? Well, that basically gives you internal connection, not only to the network in the United States, but every device connected. Every single device on an AT&T network has the communication in the wiring, if you will, or internal or the wide area network of what that tower is connecting to. So, given enough time, that balloon can test each tower, and new ones probably are better, old ones are probably weaker. So, that gives it plenty of tests um, to not only listen to existing connections, existing network traffic, but also to probe towers attempting to access. So, this is what the balloon could have been used for. There's real no talk on this, which is interesting. I feel like maybe it's a misunderstanding by the media or potentially a weak point that people don't want to admit exists. So the news media would not naturally report any of this, nor will the government prompt the media to report it. In fact, they would do the opposite because if this exploit is known, well, it opens up the door for others to expose it. So that's where I believe, and this was 2023, before February 22nd, 2024, which is what I started off the live with. This is after the fact. After the fact that assuming this balloon did indeed gain access to the network, it's easy to drop a couple of files somewhere on some device that will call back to, because, okay, and this is the next step, right? You drop something in some device somewhere. Now you're inside the network, and now you bridge a connection through all of these paths physically, and you talk back to home. Once you're inside, you can tunnel your way with encryption and provide access to whatever location you want. The tough part is getting inside through the full network system. The easy part is creating a tunnel to let anyone from the outside that could not access the inside now piggyback on this tunnel. And why is it not detected? Well, because now from the inside, we trust more the traffic than from the outside. Any outside traffic in, especially if we know it's coming from China, will get extremely filtered, not filtered, but scrutinized. They will go through a lot of processes to identify whether it's malicious or not, because at least that work effort can be focused on the ill-intentioned individuals. However, from the inside, you're just a regular user and you're accessing the internet. Those danger levels, those malicious levels decrease, so the traffic doesn't get treated in the same factor. That's one case. The second case is that you can encrypt all your data, the path and everything in between, and you can do remote desktops, you can do keyloggers, listeners, you can do zombie PCs where technically they still function like a normal PC or phone, but someone else is controlling it and using that device in the back end to apply certain directed connections. And that's what we're going to get into. In order for any of this to work, one hacker alone cannot really achieve much. But as a hacker extends their reach through small hacks, big hacks, eventually potentially finding a way to create a virus that'll propagate. Now this one hacker has control of multiple devices. Given the malicious actions of this hacker, there is a potential target they're looking at. Well, now they can direct every single device with each individual IP to overload servers, attack, and potentially even obfuscate their own actions under a cloud of connections. A cloud, as a technical term, just means a connected network of computers. The cloud where you are storing your files is basically someone else's computer. It's just a nice, cute little way to say that your files are backed up on someone's computer, someone else's computer, right? That's why I don't necessarily like the cloud. I like to create my own clouds locally, backup drives, backup information. Sometimes if I want to share stuff with students, yeah, I'll put it on the cloud so they have easy access to our lesson, videos, notes, whatever. But when it comes to private information, private files, private programs, yada yada, private code, I do not trust any cloud network because in the end, it is just another computer someone else is responsible for. And seeing a lot of the progression in today's cyber war, a lot of public databases are hacked, a lot of issues propagate, and all our data basically is in the hands of someone else's security policy. So back to the actual process here. Here, those little nodes are going to be described by these dots. This one has a lot of colors in it, but the BAD is the botnet the botnet network that I'm normally keeping track of. There was a specific acronym for it, but I forget. All you got to think is botnet for B. The others normally I turn off so they're not messying the environment, the canvas. Here we can see these circular, it's kind of hard to see with this GIF, but these are rings above a target that's actively being hacked. And if you do not see any rings, normally that's the origin of an attack. So if we think about this, why is the United States attacking itself? That's not the situation here. There would be no reason. What would be a reason or possible situation is there is an exploited computer or system that's constantly being bombarded, and then there is a support factor trying to help with those connections. Either another server is carrying a load, or another server is attempting to access the same hacked devices to take them back. So this, however, and then you'll see these lines that point to the origin of the attack. We're going to start seeing where they come from. They're on the other side of the world. Go ahead and guess where they're coming from. You'd be surprised. Then you have these that don't necessarily connect anywhere. And normally those are without origin, maybe obfuscated IPs, maybe some path that is unrecognized. So we have these paths that are being directed. Some have origins, which we'll find where they're coming from. Others do not have any origins. The case here is again that potentially this is being under attack from the outside, and we are trying to recover it in a defensive manner. So if you guessed Ukraine, congratulations. Because just like any node, a chessboard square, maybe not as a checkered as a regular chessboard. However, these servers act as locations of interest, places that a computer can connect to. Anything in between is just data being passed through cables, satellite, uh, towers, whatever, some form of connection that's outside of a centralized server. And this server seems to be very important in Ukraine. It serves as a middle point between the fights that we're going to observe in the next GIFs. Pretty sure that's the beginning of that. This one, again, February 22nd. This was probably the same one, actually. February 23rd, somewhat quiet. It looked like the attack was recovered from what we saw before. The internal attempt to defend that um, cyber attack was successful because now we're seeing the opposite effect. We're seeing attacks on China. Now, I haven't detailed too much on this map, but this is a Kaspersky cyber map. You can look it up online. There's a couple of caveats thinking about using this map, and one of them is that it is a Russian-based software. Although it has had its history with conflicting with the Russian government, it's still Russian, and there's other maps out there like Checkpoint. I've just seen this is the easiest one to illustrate as far as directions, um, botnets specifically. Like botnets are being tracked very well here. Origin and target sort of connections. And in this case, there's no origin, so we are seeing these kind of satellite-like data streams. This one's an image, not a GIF. It was pretty quiet, so I didn't really take too much, but there's again another case for the same thing. I believe, I'm not sure if it is this one, but one of the locations in China that was getting attacked was actually, yeah, this was Zhejiang. I looked it up on a map and I superimposed one on top of the other, and I'm guesstimating here, I could be wrong. But there was another location that was actually Wuhan, which is very interesting to me. Here in the United States, I guess I'm kind of guessing the location somewhere in between here. I superimpose one on top of another to try and find where it might be estimated to be. Caveats can include actual physical geographical locations. Even Kaspersky might not be accurate in the display of where on a map it's located. Plus, the proportions and the ratios and the size to size comparison between the map and one map that's flat, one map that's not so flat can get a little bit off. But this is kind of the area of effect that I believe this is located in. Pakistan had a heck of an attack at one point. This was a kind of very random key location. They don't really come up from, uh, they don't come up very often, but this was something that was displayed here. And I believe things start to get a little crazy. Now, we're seeing China getting attacked. I don't think botnet at China location seems vague. Possible Armenia cyber attack, new attack vector immediately emerged after previous post on Mast. They are coming from a lot of weird locations, and there's more than just one attack vector. We're seeing another attack vector here. I forget the location, somewhere near Kazakhstan, I believe. This is a region that I'm not familiar with too much, and I haven't looked at a map, and I'm not gonna look it up now just to be accurate. But again, you can also access these GIFs and determine yourself or post a comment and let me know where those locations are as far as verification. But we're seeing a lot of European attacks in this location. Oh wait, actually zoom in a bit. Uh, I can't read it. Yeah, I can't read it. But you do see this huge outflow. And this is interesting because it's one location. I don't think it's the same one from the first GIF, although it could be the second GIF that was supporting the attack to the other side. So we had an attack coming somewhere around here, and then there was another server below that was attacking in the first GIF we took a look at. So potentially there's some communication, but now it's an all-out attack, and we saw that most of those connections were going to China. Armenia, maybe, is what I was trying to say there. Okay. This was potentially the same GIF in a different perspective. Yeah, it's the same one because we're seeing the same attack vectors here. Okay, so I do zoom in, Bulgaria here, Ukraine being again one of our points. Lithuania, was that what it was? They also had, this region here also had a huge impact on the war. They seem to be always active on the offensive. Not once did I notice them, yeah, Lithuania. Not once did I notice them um, actually get taken over, quote unquote. No attacks towards them. It's always been a case of attacks outside. So no more attack here. Yeah, so everyone's focused in on China, that location from the previous GIF. So now we have all of those countries focusing here. Now, to be clear, just because we see packets leaving these locations doesn't guarantee those packets are actually from the natives of those locations. It could be, again, a network of bots that are hacked from the USA to Bulgaria to Lithuania or from some location to another. We only know the geographical relation of those packets, not who specifically is behind those packets. In this case scenario, we can say that there are packets from these countries coming in to focus fire on this Chinese location. But we can't be certain whether it is Americans, Bulgarians, Lithuanians, or Ukrainians that are doing it. It could be the US having proxy channels in the other countries and then having their own network or their own teams, right? Security teams in each one of these locations that are passing packets through for that final. Because the more servers, the more computers, right? The more computers you can have under your control to direct an attack, the more you can overload a system or weaken it. Then this is same. Was it Wuhan? No, Taiwan region. Okay. Taiwan, some here. It was pretty quiet on the 24th. So 2 days of a lot of packet chaos all of a sudden becomes just kind of ghost attacks. We'll call them ghost attacks. No origin, so we can't identify where they came from. And 24th later that day, well, not even that much later. It's like an hour or so. It went off again. Let me see. What are the time dates? This was 9:06. Yeah, like less than an hour later, the same path popped up as this one. Oh, 9:04. Oh, 24. 9 in the morning, Pakistan. 24. 9 in the morning. Sorry, 8 in the morning, Pakistan. 9:05. Okay. And this was 9:06. So you can see how quickly these changed. I was literally on that map all day watching these. I haven't really been doing that lately because it has been a little less dependable. Uh, 9:51, we get that same attack vector. Bulgaria, Lithuania, Ukraine, focus fire again here, plus 2 extra points. And I don't think one of them was Wuhan yet, was it? North Korea, Moscow, North Korea. No, so, okay, no, it's not Moscow in the last. Okay, so North, what? I don't remember seeing North Korea. Maybe I saw it in the GIF I didn't actually record. hits at once. This was a huge rapid fire. Huge, massive rapid fire. The circles just kept on going. And this is again in the GIF that has frame skipping. If you were watching the frames on this sucker, it was just a giant funnel. And then things got a little crazy. As soon as I speak of silence, was there silence? Yeah, okay. So this is just GIFs in between. I had posts that are keeping up with what's going on when there's nothing, when something happens. There was some silence between that February 24th, 10 a.m. Versus the 9:57. So about 30 minutes after silence, we see this. Moscow. Is that Moscow? No, it's not Moscow. That might have been Wuhan. Cyber attack Wuhan, right. So I superimposed this location on the map, and this turns out to be Wuhan. Curious, right? You know, the Wuhan from the from the shots, all that jazz. Um, the thing that's a little bit sketch. So that was the Wuhan attack, which is very interesting in my opinion. A lot of conspiracies can be drawn from that, erasing data, for instance. Okay, so after Wuhan was targeted, we have Xinjiang back on the map, and this one's a more of a, again, ghost attack, no origin of the packets. Now we're at 11:32. This is all in like a 3-hour period, mind you. We're still on February 24th. Just another chaotic attack. I didn't really zoom around, but looks like China was under heavy fire. So as of February 24th, 11:32, we were on a roll. Random points here. Africa getting involved somehow. We have some random packets attack here, but not extreme. An all-out attack, absolute chaos. It was intense to watch. Just absolutely insane Western. And this is where I actually realized that I literally dyslexia the compass. I meant Eastern is absolutely getting shit on by the West. So, yes, dyslexia does exist, and it's not just numbers, and definitely words and directions as well. So that's always exciting. So, excuse the confusion on those two. It could also be just the fact that I was using a map that continuously goes around and being from one point. If you're over here, the West is China, right? And then from China, the US is in the East. So all of those kind of perspectives constantly mess with me. However, a lot's going on here. Continuous flow. Here's kind of the big picture. 11:39, February 24th. The West is still kicking ass on the East, but you do see some retaliation. Seems to be coming from China right here. This is where things get interesting. We've got a huge outflow of Europe and United States, and then a small little attack here. Uh, insane, insane. Small little pop-ups here and there that didn't really, maybe probes attempts to hack something, but never succeeding at that point. But just absolute massive. I am lost for words. This is the most I've seen in one map. And I like to drop in and watch it once in a while. And yeah, you're going to see a couple of botnets here and there, but this was absolutely ratchet. Just an outflow of packets. And I believe this is where things get a little interesting. So then again, there's a focus fire. 1:10 p.m., still on the February 24th. Back to a focus fire. That little part here has a beacon on it. It's showing something. That was the previous location where it was actually getting, was it this one? No, this was the one before. This one. This location now after may have been compromised here. So this might have been the compromised server. So potentially I'm thinking these are some sort of small tests from the inside. Potentially a hijacked computer, hijacked device that is sending out attacks, or potentially still trying to send in attacks, just not visible from where. I believe Wuhan again, maybe. I think Wuhan was somewhere over here, but man, absolute nastiness. Not sure how much this GIF is. Oh, we have some Moscow. I think Moscow's up here. Okay. And then everything starts to go backwards. February 24th, 132. Now, not only is China being attacked, but we're seeing some attacks happening in Europe. There's that case scenario. Ukraine was a bridge, and looks like so is Bulgaria. These two are bridges that are connecting two sides of the world together. So whoever controls this bridge controls the flow of traffic. So it looks like something happened, and we saw a beacon earlier just pop up and disappear here often. We're seeing them here as well. Small beacons. Potentially those are improvised or compromised servers. But now it looks like the United States is redirecting its forces to UK. China is also finding its way to the UK, or maybe has already found a way to the UK. And potentially it could just be a bunch of those balloons flying around places and hijacking something. Because we didn't really see China go on the offensive until now. It was all an attack on China, literally until randomly. And I didn't see the in-betweens, maybe I missed it. But now it's not China directly attacking. China's directly attacking the US from. No, actually, the US is attacking China from here. And potentially these are, again, defensive formations on UK. Something happened here. The US is diverting some of its focus fire to the UK. So something happened here that they don't like and they're trying to recover. Lithuania again involved here, Bulgaria, and some other countries as well. So this is kind of where the cyber war turns on its heels. That was the UK. So now no more attacks on China. There is a random attack here. I bet you it's from China, but it doesn't necessarily have a source. So the UK is still trying to get recovered. There's another attack here happening from no source. And now it's spreading. The UK seems to be calm, but now we have somewhere in Poland. Poland's getting its ass handed to them. So it looks like they're now trying to recover. So there's going to be two situations. What I say is not going to be the exact thing that's happening because I don't have access to any of the places and their actual events. There's two things that could be happening here. As I normally consider it, the optimistic case scenario is that this server in Bulgaria, this server in Ukraine, is still under Western control. They found a suspected server that's been hacked and they're diverting attention to it to defend it. That's case one. That's the optimistic case. Pessimistic case. This server and this server have been hijacked and they are attacking Poland from the eastern side. But then that will be interesting because there's no packets that direct to them. We didn't see Ukraine or Bulgaria get any packets transmitted to them from China. The only first attack we saw essentially was a couple of packets in the US that popped up here and there, but the UK had a huge flow that directed all of the efforts from the Western Alliance. So either these are defensive attacks towards Poland to take back what was possibly compromised, or China has hijacked both Bulgaria and Ukraine and now is attacking here and potentially hiding the packets that are coming from China because cyber Kaspersky cyber map is Russian. So the possibility is that they could be hiding the packets from this side, but only showing the packets to us from here, from these 2 points. Now, because that's a lot more, I guess, convoluted and difficult and very extreme, I'd say that has a lower chance than the first case scenario. The chance of Russia and China hijacking Ukraine and Bulgaria and attacking Poland is much lesser of a chance than the initial optimistic case scenario where Poland was actually hacked. And then now there's a defensive measure from all Western alliances on the cybernet to take it back. That's more plausible to me. All right, continuing on. Was that this? Yeah, this was this. No, that was the next one. So Ukraine has played a big part. What I can see potentially, Istanbul, Bulgaria, somewhere in there. What I can see potentially is that Ukraine is kind of a middleman too, because there is a flow in both directions. Sometimes Ukraine attacks the west, sometimes it attacks the east. So it could be a case of capture the flag, the UK being the flag. And potentially here too, these would be two big bridges between the Eastern and the Western civilizations as far as network connections go, other than cables in the water and satellites. And I don't know here. I honestly have no explanation. For some reason, Argentina or something in South America pops up being attacked by the Western Alliance. Potentially, though, China has been doing a lot of work with South America. And we do know the United States banned TP-Link wireless adapters. So there could be servers that are Chinese that are basically byproducts of someone, corporation or individuals, of a mass set of individuals bought Chinese products, which now became another center or a bridge for China to access and try and attack, and they detected it, and now they're shutting them down. Now, I want to mention something because at some point there was a case for a solar flare, quote unquote. You'll see a lot of news articles that I've posted within this time frame, around February 25th, 2024, that included AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. There was a huge mainstream media outlet narrative that there's a huge solar flare happening, or there will happen. I think it was like a 2 or 3 time span between the news and the actual event, stating that a solar flare would impact United States infrastructure. Well, it turned out it did, but it was only Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. I'm pretty sure physics doesn't really judge corporate entities. Meaning, if truly a solar flare existed, it would wipe out not just specific companies, it would wipe out chips in cars, it would wipe out transformers and electricity. We'd hear a whole huge uh, news segment on maybe a town disconnected from power because of solar flares. None of that actually happened. The only outcome from this quote unquote solar flare was that AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile didn't work. Like 50% of their network didn't work. Now, if you keep track of solar storms, which I do often, we have a lot more solar flares today than then, and pretty strong. But even today, I don't see any infrastructure effect from these solar flares. No disconnects, no power outages, no, unless it's something that's happening. Go ahead and let me know in the comments that I'm not aware of. But I haven't seen any mass effect of solar flare on an infrastructure set. And you would imagine transformers as high as towers would be the first to be affected. They carry power. They're loaded with energy and kinetic potential energy that can be converted to kinetic. So a tower being disconnected, sure, but transformer will also be affected, especially old transformers that are probably not as protected with insulation and other factors. Heck, even cars from 1995-6 have chips in them that regulate functionality. You'd hear people all over the place saying my car stopped working. None of that happened. It was just Verizon, AT&T, Mobile. Why? Well, keep that in mind because it happens to be that later on maybe next year, or not next year, maybe a couple of months after February 25th, we starting to hear that AT&T got a breach and Verizon got a breach. And a lot of users are impacted. So there's a kind of interesting step here. In the process to access a country's infrastructure, you need passwords. You need identities. Where are those identities and passwords stored? On the Chrome browser of some, I don't know if they're CEOs or managers of a industrial plant, electrical plant, water purifying center. They all have phones, guys and girls. They all have phones. Every one of us stores our passwords in our phone, hoping it's secure. For the most part, they are secure. However, once they're in our network, and my sign of them being in our network is 50% of AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile was cut off. People couldn't call 911, for instance, for a period of like a couple of days to a week, maybe more for some. That's enough to implant a lot of middlemen into the network. Towers are now essentially listening to us. And if you don't think that's, if you think that's a conspiracy, uh, let's see, Fed recommends using encrypted. Well, welcome to 2025. And there it is. So I've essentially been looking at this since 2024, and now it's manifesting as an actual thing. There they are. T-Mobile, I don't think was as big of an. Oh, there it is. Okay, but it wasn't as big of an issue. With targeted, largely rebuffed the attackers. They want you to think that everything's fine, but I don't think so, man. At least the official narrative is that everything's fine, but it just seems like, oh yeah, we're fine. Oh no, we're breached. Oh no, we're fine. Oh no, we're breached. Like if you have to change and see and admit that it keeps failing over and over, especially if you're gonna say that it's a solar flare and then later say, oh okay, AT&T, Verizon were hacked. Sorry guys. You know something about the narrative is really starting to smell fishy. So using Signal, using encrypted formats, maybe Viber, definitely not WhatsApp, definitely not Facebook, even though it says it's a one-to-one connection and encrypted. Don't use that crap, guys. Find Signal, find something. Maybe we should start using some sort of encrypted IRC. I don't know. Uh, but I don't trust a lot of the big corporations to be taking care of our data. Not lately. And then chaos. This is the point, February 26th, 2:37 p.m. Let me see the previous. Yeah, this was probably the last attack that I've seen on China until it reverses. I believe that's Moscow, Lithuania, no, Ukraine, Bulgaria. I think it's Ukraine. Basically, the attack reverses. And then this random, I'm not sure that's an error or there's actually GPS confirmation of that location. But the attack now reverses. Now we see propagation within the network. So first here, now we see other parts getting affected. So there seems to be an attack happening in UK. Now I'm not sure if it's defensive or offensive. Because at this, oh, this is March now. Because at this point, oh yeah, hold on. February 26th, huge attack, not only from land, but look at this, from a huge traffic from quote unquote ghost attacks. So something happened here, takes a couple of days, maybe a week or so, until March 7th, 2 weeks, and then we see more activity happening. Now I think they have access. They have access to the internal infrastructure of the United States, and there's potentially more attacks happening back in UK. You start here seeing this. McDonald's falls victim to data breach. March 16th, McDonald's hit by data hack attack. MGM's casinos getting hit. Now we are effed. So it was China at first. And then we get effed, and now it's just a ratchet. It's like throwing a bunch of medieval knights into a ring. No one knows whose team is whose, and then just everyone's smacking each other around. And there's nothing I can do here. There's nothing I can describe here. All I can say is that everyone seems to be compromised. The United States is the most attacked, but that also is giving access to maybe this central port is not attacked. Maybe this is one of the only US locations that was still secure. I'm not sure what that location would be because it does have a lot of output attacks, seemingly in a defensive manner. In fact, I think it has an attack here internally. Yeah, so this, well, I could be completely wrong. This could be a central server that connects all of them together and it's been hijacked by China. There's nothing I can say here. So, Western focus today on the net looks like a flood of botnets, no origin, but the defending side is definitely Western network systems. Okay, I went back to regular compass connotation. Can be related to all the industrial based catastrophes like Baltimore's bridge. This also happened within this factor of time. So, Baltimore was April 1st, around April 1st. If none of you know yet, this ship was sitting in a dock until it just turned on and started going towards the bridge. No one still, and the government and FBI took it into their hands to figure out what's happening. We still don't know. They're calling it an accident. In fact, had we had private companies investigate, we'd get a better answer because we know how effective government is at doing anything with money. So the one thing I want you to notice is how do I know it's a hack? Well, first, it's got a complete 45 or 90-degree turn. Second, you saw that? That was a restart. It made the churn, it aligned to where it needs to be. The propel the thing that's churning, right? Maybe they're trying to change the direction, however, it churns off before it could change direction. And then as soon as it changes direction, it straightens up and now it's back forward. And then it smacks into it. So manual override would have been possible had the restart not happened. All right. So crazy, crazy. So earthquake faults, this and that, this and that. Uh, nice and quiet. April 13th, quiet. After that event and after that final attack that we saw here, it got quiet, man. It got so quiet. And you probably won't see too much. Here's again, new solar storm, solar flare happening the next night plus days forward. Note 51024 network quiet. May 10th. May 10th. Some random, this is what you would normally see on a regular day. Just a bunch of connections. Looks like right now it's what? Moscow and Ukraine. Maybe a pass through. Romania and United States. This is a little above average to see right here in front of us. Multiple vector attacks. US, Taiwan. I'm horrible right now. Vietnam, Taiwan, something here. On top of my head, I can't figure it out. Can't even see it that well. And then some pathways here. This from point A to point B is normal. But then having some sort of multi-vector attack, not so normal, especially if it's the targets that we would normally hear in a war, like Moscow, Germany, not so much, but Moscow, China, United States. Slight activity, but nothing sus, right? Yeah, normal activity. And then, okay, this is where I stopped believing in Kaspersky. Uh, because under the control, the software, under the control of an entity, they can remove data if they want to. In this case, there's no sources for any of these. I find it hard to believe that none of these packets have any sources, especially being the majority of them are on the west side. Japan and China involved as well, sure. But this is the point I started questioning the legitimacy of Kaspersky. Here looks like an attack out from Bulgaria, potentially a defensive, potentially an offensive. Could be China or Moscow taking over the server and then going forward. So, considering what we discussed here, specifically the fact that you can have multiple pathways. That's the one that I want to focus on because some pathways may be less secure than others. Some pathways may have connections that are naturally easier to bypass. Some may be extra secure. Others could be not suspicious and act as a path through. That's what's happening. Sometimes you'll notice that some countries may have much closer ties with other countries like Bulgaria and the United States. Therefore, there might be some pathways one could take in order to access from Bulgaria, considering the connected factor. But if you wanted to access, say, from Egypt, there probably are no connections to the United States. If there are, it's through Turkey or some other pathway in itself. So there could be cases where some countries that are directly tied with the United States may have direct access either through satellite, cables, whatever means necessary. But the servers could be tied even through a wide area network. Business propositions. You hack a business, you've got a network in the US, you got a network in Bulgaria, and they're connected through a WAN. Well, then if you connect and you take over that business network, you have yourself a backdoor into the other country as well. So these are the factors that are involved. And then I stopped paying attention. I started doing some charts and trading because that's actually what makes money, not keeping track of hacks. But I do have here and here. I think I'm going to start paying attention again, but it has been very quiet lately. This was Moscow attacking China. Potentially, the US may have taken over that server and now is retaliating back. But I haven't been, and I probably should keep that map open more permanently. So, okay, that's all I wanted to go over. Hopefully, that taught you a little bit about how hacking vectors, at least, work, how we can't quite identify with certainty who the attacker and who, well, we can potentially identify the defender based on the geographical location, but the attacker normally we couldn't possibly know with 100% certainty. Simply because a server can be hacked in one country and then acts on behalf of another country. This is what a botnet is. It's a network of bots that once hijacked can redirect traffic in all directions. In the beginning, we saw um, China get attacked, Russia get attacked, and in the end, we saw a mass chaos slaughter of the Western networks. And we saw just the progression, especially with the Baltimore ship, so many infrastructure attacks. I haven't even scratched the surface on any of them. I haven't really, I mean, most of these um, news segments are actually going to be from like um, public database hack. They're just text. So you go through my profile and go in those dates, you'll see all of these types of um, articles that I post in between the GIFs. However, media on X doesn't quite show you everything outside of GIFs and images, and that's why we only went through the attack vectors from Kaspersky. But if you needed to figure out in the last X amount of time how many things have been hacked or what databases, public databases, etc., have been hacked, just takes a Google, man. It's getting crazy. Parlor. Ah, Parlor, right. Leaked by security researchers. Interesting. Hackers or security researchers? Anyway, it's chaotic. Stay secure. Make sure you have antiviruses, firewalls. If you need any help with those, I do a lot. A lot, a lot. Everything from potentially learning how to stream and edit videos now. But I've been designing from 16 years. I've taken apart computers at 15, 14. I I hacked into my neighbor's Wi-Fi where he was using WEP when I was like 16 or 17. I'm a jack of all trades. I currently program, but if you need to know how to secure yourself, I'll be happy to help. Um, if anything, I'm a white hat hacker, although I don't actually do hacking, I do programming. Um, I believe that if I put my mind into it, I could, but it's not something that I focus on. I focus on mathematics and teaching, education. I focus on security, programming, artificial intelligence, especially recently. Um, Basically, I'm an educator. I'm an educator, and when I find something interesting, I like to learn it. And if times come where everyone is a free for all and now everyone's a hacker and everyone's hacking each other, maybe then I'll have some fun with it. But, I'd go for the black hats. Um, so, superscholar.xyz. That's where you can get in contact with me. From all my locations, from X is linked there. My Patreon is linked there. You can find classes that I offer on superscholar.xyz. And there's reviews that you can access and a bunch of different things that you can see from people that have had classes with me. And I've been teaching for 10 plus years. I'd say about 13, 14 now. So, of course, my main focus is helping students through academics, mathematics, algebra, statistics, calculus, physics with applied calculus. I love math. I'm a math guy. But I do programming as well. 10 languages, Python, C++, JavaScript, PHP, MySQL, even AutoHotScript, Lua for Roblox. I've been having fun teaching a lot of kids in that area too. Teaching programming is actually pretty fun when you're teaching in a game environment. So, a lot. There's a lot I can do. I just like to learn, apply, and then teach. So if you're interested in anything I mentioned, or if you want to find out more, superscholar.xyz. And I appreciate you guys watching this video. Stay safe. If you don't have any security, I wouldn't trust Defender. I wouldn't trust Windows integrated defenses. You need some external firewalls. You need some external antiviruses, anti-spyware, lockdown software so you can actually control access. So you don't basically like, oh, I'm done installing everything, so now I'm going to turn off the ability to install anything new because I don't need to install anything. There's access rights you can turn off so that once you're set up your computer, you just turn off the ability to install anything new. That's one of the best ways to secure yourself. So let me know if you need any help. Talk to you later. Bye.